There it is, and it's open. Confused with the meaning of your life? You come to the right place. Welcome to our club, Meaningless Life. Here, not only you and me think life is meaningless, but many other well-known masters. See, here are all of them. Let's see the first one, Arthur Schopenhauer, the representative of German idealism in philosophy. And his idea was widely made an impact on many other masters you must have heard. If you ask Schopenhauer, what's the meaning of life? Schopenhauer stated that one's life respects one's will, and that is the will is an aimless, irrational, and painful drive. With his vision of the world as will, there is no God to be comprehended, and the world is conceived of being inherently meaningless. When anthropomorphically considered, the world is represented as being in a condition of internal frustration, as it endlessly strives for nothing in particular, and as it goes essentially nowhere. It's a world beyond any ascriptions of good and evil. One can live meaningfully, free of despair and anxiety, in an unconditional commitment to something finite, and devotes that meaningful life to be the commitment, despite the vulnerability inherent to doing so. Wow, he's more desperate than me. Treat him a black beer. Cheers! Haha, no hurry. You haven't met another master, Friedrich Nietzsche, who was influenced by Schopenhauer. Oh, there he is. In Nietzsche's eyes, life is worth living only if there are goals inspiring one to live. He stated that asceticism denies one's living in the world. Values are not objective facts that are rationally necessary, universally binding commitments. Our evaluations are interpretations and not reflections of the world as it is, if and therefore all evaluation take place from a particular perspective. For to hope in the possibilities of help, not to speak of help by virtue of the absurd, that for God all things are possible, no, that he will not do that. And as for seeking help from any other, no, that he won't do that for the whole world. Rather than seek the help, he would prefer to be himself, with all the tortures of hell. If so, it must be. Well, he needs a cup of vodka to keep him alive and cheerful. Bingo! Vodka is his special here. 1 cup of vodka! You know, he's the representative of essentialism. About why we existed here? Correct. And we also have someone very significant about nihilism, Martin Heidegger. Heidegger, in accordance with Nietzsche, saw in the so-called death of the god a potential source for nihilism. By the way, nihilism is a movement whereby being is forgotten and is transformed into value. In other words, the reduction of being to exchange value. If the God, supersensory ground and of all reality is dead, if the supersensory world of the ideas has suffered the loss of its obligatory and above it, vitalizing and upbuilding power, then nothing more remains to which man can cling and by which he can orient himself. Wait, why are they obsessed with the God? Well, because they all lived in more than 100 years ago, when modern life with industrial style started, but some people's spiritual world have broken up with previous Christian. The spiritual support them, you know? Okay, but I was born as an atheist. After their time, they were transferred to or wake up into what you are now. The point is they feel empty, pointless, and maybe sad in their life. The same with you. Cool, I'm not alone. Well, my cup is empty now. Who are those guys? Oh, Soren Kierkegaard and Albert Camus. Their beliefs about our meaningful lives are more nuanced. They say our world absurd. Soren Kierkegaard, in absurdist philosophy, the absurd arises out of the foundational disharmony between the individual's search for meaning and the apparent meaninglessness of the universe. Albert Camus, don't listen to him. Actually, there is only one way. After I went through World War I and World War II, the absurdity of the human condition is that people search for external values and meaning in a world which has none and is indifferent to them, such as Marsault, but also of values in a nihilistic world, that people can instead strive to be heroic nihilists, living with dignity in the face of absurdity. Okay, I'm drunk. Who else shares the same idea with me? Take my last sober. Two well-known psychologists, Sigmund Freud and Alfred Adler. Sigmund Freud, like Nietzsche, Freud thought meaning was an illusion. Life is essentially meaningless, and the need for the meaning is a product of the existence of early childhood. But unlike Nietzsche, Freud didn't think it could remark itself to remove the need for meaning. The course of development from infant to child to adult meant that we would always have an unrequited need for meaning, all-encompassing parental love when we are very small creatures. When we are very small, creates in us the idea that life is meaningful. We never get over this, despite of glory, indifference of the universe to our existence, which we gradually discover as we grow older. For Freud, therefore, human maturity means accepting the meaninglessness of life and taking consolation in a gradual increase of empire of secularism. But Freud also thought that living without illusions would only be possible for a small elite. Mighty illusions in one form or another about meaning and justice could continue to be necessary to ensure that the masses continue to live peacefully and productively. Alfred Adler. I know you are drunk. I just have one sentence. Life is meaningless. Unbelievable, from late 18th century to mid 20th century, there used to be so many masters who thought the same idea with me. And even such opinion as the so-called negative attitudes did achieve their career's face, which through the rise of existentialism, absurdism, and nihilism. So in many ways, we have to admit that life is meaningless. As I talked in last video, the pursuit for life's meaning is important because it can be the most positive life engine that fuels us to carry on with most vigorous energy and spirits, especially in the face of enormous sorrows and difficulties. On the other hand, it can be the most negative killer that easily derives of our existential fans and pushes us into immense depressive abyss, which makes us say forever goodbye to the world. However, the interesting thing is, even if these masters have asserted that life is meaningless, very few choose to end their life afterwards. On the contrary, many of them have long lifespans. Here is their lifespan's rank. But the key point is, how should we face and accept life is meaningless? My favorite underrated Chinese writer and philosopher Mu Xin once said that, fortunately, life is meaningless so that it can allow each to give meaning. If life is meaningful, but the meaning does not suit my interest, then it will be very embarrassing. But unfortunately, Muxin is not here in our club now, and the club time is up. Watch my next video to say what you can do after life is meaningless.